I'm interested. We keep hearing, they're going back to the Kevin Stefanski system potentially. That's the tea leaves that we're reading. So system rather than player. And I was a guy that said, yeah, you got to try to maximize Deshaun Watson's ability. Man, that didn't work out. I'm the first to admit it. It was a disaster.
It really was, and listen, we get it. Like maximizing someone's ability is really important. You want to put people in position to be successful. The problem was, especially with the Browns' offensive line, I always talk about the spread system. Offensive linemen need to catch defenders as they're coming. Well, the wide zone scheme and the players that the Browns have want to get out and move. They want to get players off balance. They want to kind of be a little bit more of the aggressor in that style. They're not really the we're just going to catch you and we're going to contain you and we're going to control you type. And so while it might have been set up for Deshaun Watson and even Jerry Jeudy and the receiving groups, it wasn't set up for the offensive line. In the end, a lot of system versus talent conversation actually goes all the way back to Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham Jr. Both Baker and OBJ wanted a system with more flexibility. Baker wanted to take the ball, scan the field, look around, see everything, spread everybody out, and kind of play point guard. Beckham really wanted to adjust his routes on the fly, not be real specific in his routes so that he could be as explosive as possible. The problem with that is you have to be great on the same page and consistent for that to work. Otherwise, you have a much lower floor to your success, which we saw all year with Deshaun Watson. Really, most of the quarterbacks that the Browns put out there, Jameis Winston had some more success. So going back to system at some level raises the floor of performance. But unfortunately, there's a belief that there is a ceiling to some of that wide zone scheme and that it's a little easier to figure out in the playoffs. The Houston Texans made some statements about it. So really, if you look at if you're Stefanski and even Andrew Berry, next year, do you still try to go with talent base, or do you have a high floor offense that really focuses on timing, rhythm, um, details to try to save your job, right? To try to establish a culture. And then if you do get the right quarterback, whether if that's with the number two pick or in 2026 or whatever that looks like, then hope that that quarterback can kind of bust through the ceiling of that system offense.
Yeah, and you know what? That's an interesting dilemma. I think it's a little easier to go with the high floor, low ceiling when you believe you have a dominant defense, which, if you don't put this defense behind the eight ball, we've seen they can be pretty good.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, the other thing, and one of the things the Browns are sort of fighting, and I can tell you I've been told this at different times, the Browns, the move to Watson was really about making sure good didn't get in the way of great. The Pittsburgh Steelers are a great example of this, a really good franchise. Most Browns fans are like, I wish we were the Pittsburgh Steelers. But if you look at really their recent last 10, 15 years or so, they have been a good franchise with almost no chance at greatness over that extended period of time, but they're never bad enough to get the quarterback, to get the dominant player, to really kind of change the game. And I think that's kind of the concern with system over talent is do you put too much of ceiling on it? But like you said, the defense, and to be honest, the NFL has slowly moved back to more run orientation and allowing the Derrick Henrys and the Saquon Barkleys to actually be impactful. I think it's a perfect time to make that move.